Hello and welcome to my second build guide. This time around I'm doing a build based on a specific spell from the Grim Hollow Player's Guide called Life Tether, which basically, when you take damage, an opponent takes half as much damage. It's a really fun spell, and it's one that I can't help but be inspired by. So even though it's not the most efficient way to do things, I think it's fun, and I wanted to build around it and see kind of how well we could do that. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've done this build up to level 12. I've already built the character, and I'll be going through it and some of the stats as we go as well. The most important thing for this one is basically your health total, because your aim is to take damage. But obviously along the way, you can also do other damaging spells and things like that. So let's get into another third-party build, shall we? Of course, before we get into the build itself, we should probably discuss the specifics of the spell, so let's do that. Life Tether is a second level concentration spell. It's from the Necromancy School, and it lasts up to a minute. It uses a wisdom save, and on a failed save, the target basically takes half the amount of damage that you take, but is necrotic damage. If the target drops to 0 hit points during that time, you can use a bonus action to move the tether to another creature, although they also have to succeed on a wisdom save or avoid that being the case. When you upcast it, you get one new tether every second level. So at 4, 6, and 8, it goes up to 2, 3, and 4, basically. That feels slow in terms of progression, but there are ways of speeding that up, obviously, depending on the class you take. And the class you take was a big thing for me. There are a few classes that can take this spell, but the one that felt the most fitting to me was a Sorcerer, and very specifically, the Crimson Sorcerer from the Crooked Moon books. After all, we're doing third-party content, and Grim Hollow and Crooked Moon are besties in my mind. So let's go over the actual build itself. So, yeah, it's called the Martyr because that's the most fitting name for it, in my opinion. We are sticking with Sorcerer the entire way through. You could definitely mess around with this. This is a pretty flexible thing, and the amount of spells I've actually chosen are quite light. So it leaves a lot of room for personalization or customization as you prefer, basically. I will explain all of my choices as we go through, with the first one not being the class, but the species. And the species we're going for is the Arisen. The Arisen is a construct, basically, from the Grim Hollow book, and along some generally cool stuff, like being able to be better at specific throws, it has the feature called Toughness, which is like a mini tough feat. Your hit point maximum increases by 1, and it increases by another 1 every time you level up. We obviously want to combine this with our background, which we're going with Farmer. We're not really going with Farmer. We're going with Farmer here because it's the one that gives us the tough feat. But actually what you want to do is choose a custom background. And if you're using third-party content, the idea that you can't do just a fully custom background is preposterous, in my opinion. So I've chosen the farm one here. Basically what you want is a custom background. You want the tough feat, you want a +1 in your con, and you want a +2 to your charisma, so that your constitution will be 16, because you're doing point buy, presumably. So 16 constitution, and then you want a 17 in charisma. That's that. Nice and simple. So yes, at level 1, we are taking Sorcerer. The spells you take aren't especially relevant, but the one I went for was Vampiric Claws. It's also a concentration spell. It lets you get in there and slash at things and get some temp health back. It's a fun spell. I've also taken Chromatic Orb, because why wouldn't you take Chromatic Orb? At level 2, we're still kind of waiting for everything to come online, but we do get Font of Magic and we get Meta Magic. And the two Meta Magic choices at this level are important. We're going to take Twinned Spell, and we're going to take Heightened Spell. Twinned Spell lets us upcast a spell that targets an extra creature when you do so. This allows us to speed up the life tether progression slightly. So once we have a level 3 spell slot, we can already target 2 creatures. So that's a 2-level boost, basically. So it does put us fairly ahead of the game, which is nice. And then Heightened Spell is great if you're just targeting one creature, because it allows you to give them disadvantage on the spell. We'll obviously also be using Innate Sorcery, which boosts our spell save DC by 1 as well, just to give us a bit of extra help. With that in mind, let's quickly go over the HP. So at level 1, this build gives you 12 health, and at level 2, which is where we're at now, you've got 22 health, so you get 10 health every time you level up. That's a lot of health for a Sorcerer. D8 hit die. If you wanted to, you can take tough multiple times, according to the Grim Hollows book as written, but that involves you customizing the species, which you can't do as standard in D&D Beyond, which is a shame. Hopefully they implement it later on, but you can always do that as a homebrew feat or something. That would actually boost your health even more. Level 3, we get our subclass, and while I was considering a few different subclasses, the one I went for in the end was the Crimson Sorcery subclass from the Crooked Moon. It's blood themed, and that obviously works, but perhaps most importantly, it gives us some really useful spells. It gives us Cure Wounds, which is huge. Aid, which means we can boost our own hit point total. I'm not including that in my hit point numbers, but that's a huge win. And it gives us Blood Sacrifice. Our health at this point, by the way, is 32. Let's switch to spells for a second. Okay, so we have Life Tether, we have Cure Wounds, which is good, and we have Blood Sacrifice. Blood Sacrifice is a bonus action spell, and it allows you to, well, I'll just read it. This is also from the Crooked Moon book. You sacrifice a portion of your life force to enhance your magical power. When you cast this spell, you take 1d6 necrotic damage, which can't be reduced or prevented in any way. For the duration, which is 1 minute, when you cast a spell that deals damage, one target of the spell takes 1d6 extra damage of the spell's normal damage type. Your choice if there are multiple. Every time you upcast this, the damage goes up by 1d6 on both the taken and given. Now, Life Tether doesn't deal damage. I wouldn't say it causes someone to take damage. I would say ask your DM if you can let these two interact. I think it's perfectly fine if they don't though, because Life Tether is just our concentration spell. We can still be firing off chromatic orbs to deal a bunch of damage anyway, or whatever other spells you want to use. So it's not the end of the world if this doesn't work, but this is a consistent way for us to damage ourselves, which is helpful ultimately when you're doing a build like that. And then obviously Cure Wounds is great because you can heal yourself, because you're going to be taking a lot of damage, because that's the point. You'll note I've talked nothing at all about AC, and it's because the AC is not something we're interested in. The aim here is actually to keep it relatively low so we can keep getting hit. You could, with this build, theoretically, walk in amongst a group of enemies, fireball yourself, deal damage to everything, and then deal a little bit of extra damage to the creature you've tethered as well. And I just think that's really lots of fun. At level 7, well, I'll talk about the other spells when we get to them, shall we? We're going to move up to level 4 now. Level 4 bumps our health up to 42. We're also going to bump our charisma up to 18 and take the Warcaster feat because we want advantage on our constitution saving throws. We want to be able to wield weapons if we want to. You could absolutely multi-classes with a fighter if you wanted to also be walking in and hitting things. And it also obviously allows us the opportunity attack spell, which means that we can cast spells on our allies if that's how you're playing that, or means that you can cast spells on people that are running away from you because you're a terrifying thing that's trying to basically hurt yourself to finish them off. This bumps our wisdom save up to 15, which is nice, and that bumps it up to 16 with the innate sorcery as well. So we're doing all right with the saves here, to say the least. We're then going to go up to level 5, which boosts our health to level... We'll then go up to level 5, which boosts our health to 52, and also means that we have 3rd level spell slots, which means that we can now do Life Tether on 2 creatures with Twin Spell, which is great. That's because Twin Spell doesn't actually let you target an extra creature. It boosts the effective level of the spell by 1 as long as you meet the requirements. It also gives us the Crimson Harvest and the Vampiric Touch spells, so let's quickly go over those. It also gives us the Crimson Harvest and the Vampiric Touch spells, so let's have a quick look at those. Crimson Harvest is an emanation attack from yourself. Each creature of your choice takes 3d10, so this is again really good. This is again really good for being in the middle of enemies, and also it allows you to regain hit points equal to half the damage roll as well. Vampiric Touch is another concentration spell. It's not dissimilar to the Vampiric Claws, but because it's concentration, it means it's competing with Life Tether, which is what we're doing, so we're not going to be using it much. Level 6 bumps us up to 62 hit points. It also gives us the Pool of Blood ability, which allows us to turn into a pool of blood. It gives us a climb and swim speed equal to our 10-foot speed, resistance to damage, immunity to prone condition, advantage on strength, dexterity and constitution saving throws, and lets us just generally run away really, really well. You can even hide in cracks and things like that if that's what you want to do. It's ever so silly. I sort of love it. It's very fitting with the theme of what we're going for. So we also get Scarlet Vigor, which gives us resistance to necrotic damage, which is great, and it lets us expend our Blood Well to reduce our exhaustion level. The Blood Well is a feature you get earlier on, which basically lets you deal extra damage or restore extra hit points, which is very cool. On to level 7. Level 7 gives us Sorcery Incarnate, which lets us get innate sorcery back, which is great because it's going to be something we're using. It obviously also gives us 72 hit points, which is also very, very useful. And it gives us a Death Ward spell, which is going to be pretty helpful in the event that we're being silly. So Death Ward reads, you touch a creature and grant it a measure of protection from death. The first time the target would drop to 0 hit points before the spell ends. It lasts for 8 hours. The target instead drops to 1 hit point and the spell ends. It also stops you being instantly finished, which is wonderful. The general aim here is going to be that you wake up in the morning, you cast Aid on yourself and maybe a couple of other people to boost your hit points, which is always nice. You can upcast that as much as you want. You cast Death Ward to make sure you're not going to be finished off, and then you walk into a fight. You do Life Tether next turn, which you can do on the same... You do Life Tether, which you can do on the same turn as activating. You would do your Innate Sorcery as a bonus action. You would do your Life Tether as a main action, and then from then on you might do Blood Sacrifice followed by a cantrip or something along those lines. It should be dealing a chunk of damage already. I'm less interested in the damage in this because a lot of the damage you could theoretically be taking would be from just wandering into dangerous situations. So it's a little hard to calculate that. And I'm not as interested in the specifics. This is a vibe build, which I'm sure everybody will love. We're then going to go up to level 8, which gives us 82 hit points and also gives us an ASI. It's not very exciting, but I'm going to use this one to just bump the charisma up to 20. If you are finding that your saving throws are fine, you could boost your con up earlier if you want to. I'm going to do that at level 12. So I'm basing the health figures on the idea that I've got maximum charisma here, because generally that's what you're going to want to do with the sorcerer. We're then going to move to level 9, which gives us 92 health and also allows us to cast 5th level spell slots, which means that we can upcast Life Tether to now hit 3 targets, because that's what we can do at level 6, 6th level spells. So we're massively bumping up the number of creatures we can mess around with Life Tether, which is always nice. It does also give us 5th level spells. I don't care about the spells from this point onwards. We're doing everything we want to be doing, generally speaking. You can obviously change this as you want, but for the most part, you're upcasting Aid, you're using Death Ward, you're walking in and you're just throwing chromatic orbs at people. That's my plan. It's entirely up to you how you would want to play this kind of thing, but that is generally what I'm assuming you're doing. Level 10, we get to 102 health, which is pretty tanky. We've been pretty tanky throughout this, and we also get 2 more metamagic options. It's very much pick your favourite. An extended spell might actually be the correct choice here, as you can then extend your Aid and your Death Ward on yourself to make sure they last all day. You can also extend your Life Tether, which will give you advantage on the concentration, but you already have that because of Warcaster, so hey-ho. We're then going to level 11, where we get 6th level spells. Is there anything we want to look at in the 6th level spells? I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff, to say the least. There's plenty of fun stuff. I like Circle of Death, I think. But generally speaking, you can use a 5th level spell slot and Twin Spell to cast Life Tether at 3 creatures. And assuming you want to use your 6th level slot on anything, I would recommend Aid, to be perfectly honest. A 6th level Aid will give you an extra 25 hit points, which is nothing to sneeze at, as that would put us to 127. So definitely worth doing. And then the final level is level 12. We're going to boost our constitution here. Rather than adding 10 to our modifier, so it would be 122, this obviously bumps us up by another +1 into our actual modifier itself, which means that we're at 134 hit points. We will now be gaining substantially more hit points every time we level up, which is lovely, I think. We'll now have a lot more hit points going forwards, and then obviously if you're combining this with the 6th level Aid, as I said you could be doing, this puts you at just shy of 160 at 159 hit points, and at level 13 you can upcast it again. Also at level 13 you can upcast Life Tether to hit a 4th creature, so you're kind of laughing really with all of this. But yeah, that's the general build. It's very different to the previous one I did, where you were basically the ultimate werewolf, but it's one I've had stuck in my head and I do think would be a lot of fun to play. I haven't been able to get it out of my brain, so I needed to put it in a video and out onto the internet, and then hopefully it'll leave me alone. But I hope you enjoyed this. It's nice to do slightly shorter videos than the reviews I've been doing recently. I will be aiming to do more of these third-party subclasses as we go. I've also got an Oathbreaker multi-class in the works once I figure out how best to make the most of that. And if there are any other specific subclasses or multi-classes or anything else, or even the classes itself, like a Monster Hunter build, for example, that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments. I would absolutely love to put this all together for you so you can check it out and see how it will work. I'll run proper numbers for a lot of the builds as well. This one is just, it's a little hard to calc, so I'm not going to bother. If you enjoyed this, and I hope you did, please like and subscribe. I'm getting not far from 1,000 subscribers at this point, which is a big milestone for a YouTuber. I didn't really think I'd be getting to that at any point ever, really. Very much thanks to the reviews and all of you lovely lot who've been watching it. So thank you so very much. I will see you next time. Do take care. Goodbye.